Next up on the board game awesomeness menu,
Carcassonne.
you might have noticed it said Carcassonne Big Box, which means it includes lots of expansions, but I'm going to be focusing on the base game and the expansion called Inns and Cathedrals. The game starts off with this little universal tile of sorts. It has one of each type of material. There's the city edge, 2 road edges, and then a grass edge. The reason that's so important is because you take turns selecting tiles from what remains. These are just like I shuffled these, but you select one and notice we got, a road. So your turn consists of attaching it to the picture. And here's the key thing: to get points for these little structures, because the game is won by having the most points when all the tiles are taken. The way to get points is you have to claim that little structure. So I'm going to put my little worker on here. He's got a fancy name. I forget the names for the different positions, but little guy, little dude, technically called a meeple. Players go back and forth, adding tiles and claiming structures. And for a little while, your dudes just sit there waiting to get their jobs done. Now, the way their jobs get done is when you complete a structure. Notice that this particular city is now enclosed on all of its sides. It takes a while to get used to the rhythm and how the different structures actually finish. But it's kind of obvious here. We see the picture is enclosed. Like, imagine a kid's drawing. The city has lines all around it, and now it's done. Even though there's this weird void in this corner, the city is complete. In this particular case, just as an example, because the scoring takes a bit of getting used to as well, but for this case, set them aside, we have 4 tiles built into the city. 1, 2, 3, 4. And cities, when complete, double the points. So this would be 8 points. We go over here to the scoreboard, and I move my little guy up to 8. As I mentioned with the expansion, it has cathedrals, which when a city is complete, the points will be tripled. It's a little triple or nothing risk, though, because if you don't complete it, all the tiles are taken. Then the game ends, 0 points for the city. Similar thing with roads that have inns. I mean, inns are usually designated by the cute little lake next to them. But if a road has a lake and it's completed, then the points are doubled. Roads are usually just single points per. But again, the risk is if you don't complete it and the tiles are all taken, the game ends, no points for that road. For the most part, the game is so simple, especially if you're just playing with the base game. Each game is very quick. Rules are really smooth. There's like very little competition. If you want to be competitive, there's a possible way to steal different structures, but most of the time the people with whom I play, we're all just kind of building our own things and having a nice little time creating this funny landscape. If you do want to get more elaborate and more involved, you can either purchase a big box that by default includes all these expansions, or you can get different ones individually. The base game includes just these little guys who claim one thing at a time. Inns and Cathedrals includes this big man, and it's really subtle, but he's slightly bigger than the rest. And his function is he's worth 2 of these guys for when he's claiming different structures. Then there's the mayor, the cart, the piggy, the builder, the barn. They all do so many different things in the game, and the tiles themselves have a lot of individual functions. Like I showed you, the cathedral will triple a city, the lakes/inns will double a road, and the other expansions have so many tiles. There's one that like you can teleport from one spot to another. There's one expansion that has a dragon, and you place a certain tile, it summons the dragon. So that's pretty cool. I think it's frustrating because it burns things. It starts smashing up the work you've been doing, but it can be fun. Yeah, again, it's called Carcassonne. It can range anywhere from a nice short mellow game where very little happens and just have a nice time to this sprawling, table-consuming tile mass. So many activities. Really great. I love how well it spans both ends of the intensity spectrum. Like again, it can be really mellow or really intense. But a lot of color. You saw the tiles. They're pretty. You're building a picture. It's really cute. It plays up to 6 players by default, and I'm sure you could find some way to jerry-rig extra players in there, but 6 will already create enough havoc. Works really well with 2. Obviously, it's 1 versus 1, so there's this extra tension of competing against an individual person. But the thing that I love about just a 2-player game is the map ends up being that much more neat, because instead of having people constantly interfering with each other's work, it's just one little empire of sorts pushing against the other empire, and it's easier to get larger points, which feels really cool. Yeah, so Carcassonne, super great, super chill if you want, or super intense if you want, and I hope you'll give it a try.